Well, good evening, everyone. I see a lot of red out there. So we'll try to do our best to get through the agenda so that whichever item you are here to speak on, we'll try to make sure we're being prompt and moving through things as we should. But I'd like to welcome everyone to the October 27th City of Gardner Planning Commission. Could everyone please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Move into Commissioner roll call, beginning on my right.
Commissioner Landsberg, present.
Commissioner Souza here.
Commissioner Combs, present.
Commissioner Berg, present.
Commissioner Olucci, present.
We have a quorum. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. All matters listed within the consent agenda have been distributed to each member of the Planning Commission for study. These items are considered to be routine and will be enacted upon by one motion with no separate discussion. If separate discussion is desired on an item, that item may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda. Are there any items a member of the commission would like to remove from the consent agenda? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Olucci with a second by Commissioner Berg. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Moving into the regular agenda, we have item number 1, Meadows of Aspen Creek. Does the applicant have a presentation?
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Judd Clausen, Phelps Engineering, 1270 North Winchester, Olathe, Kansas. As civil engineer and surveyors for the project, appearing on behalf of Aspen Creek LLC, Greg Preeb project. Thank you for the continuance last month to be able to work through the stormwater issues. We were able to do that and have this project ready for your consideration tonight. A few just remarks before Bob comes up and gives the staff report. This is the same project, literally, that you guys saw in 2021 that was not able to get financed and move forward with construction. Greg's back to get your reapproval of basically the same project so that we can move forward at this time since our approvals had expired. So that's what this is about. There's a preliminary plat, preliminary plan, final plat, and final plan. That will then, if approved tonight, go on to City Council. We're working through getting the documents ready for staff to review for our engineering permits and construction permits so that we can start here right after the first of the year with the utilities and go into spring with grading and paving. So that's the plan. My client is agreeable to the stipulations that were presented, and we're available for any questions.
Say before you sit down, do any commissioners have any questions for the applicant at this time? Okay. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Staff, please give their presentation.
Good evening. As the applicant said, this is a plan that had expired back in 2023, actually. It was approved back in 2021. This is a rezoning, preliminary development plan, preliminary plat, and final development plan and final plat. The subject property is located at the terminus of 186th Street. The plan development, again, was approved back in March of 2021, but unfortunately was never developed. And the applicant is the same developer that presented back in 2021. Lots and streets have not changed from the original submitted plans, but because there is no action to either record a plat or obtain building permits, the application has since expired. The rezoning and preliminary development plan and plat for the Meadows of Aspen Creek 2 was approved again back in 2021. And the rezoning ordinance was approved by the governing body on April 19th of that same year. The development includes 66 units on 33 lots and 1 track. The development will be serviced by City of Gardner Utilities. Tract A, which is located on the south side of the development, is being utilized for both stormwater and open space. That includes a walking trail. Staff finding is that both the preliminary and final development plans are in substantial compliance with the land development code, and the site is generally consistent with good planning and design. There are 4 deviations. These are the same exact deviations that were approved back in 2021. 5-foot sidewalk on one side. Proposed is 4-foot sidewalks on both sides. The development, as it ties into the existing development to the east, they have 4-foot sidewalks, and they're just keeping that the same. The frontage is standards neighborhood yard, terrace, limited or courtyard. They're proposing suburban yard. Again, they're wanting to maintain a level of consistency with the adjacent. This is Aspen Creek, Meadows of Aspen Creek 2. Meadows of Aspen Creek 1 are basically just directly to the west of this development. Of course, with most plans that we receive, our code is a little tight with the access widths, 24 max. And when you're talking about a duplex, a lot of times you're not able to fit a double car garage on each unit. They're 87% of the frontage driveway. We've been, ever since even back in 2021, we reviewed and worked with the developer on improvements to their front facade, adding basically a little gingerbread to the front facade to make it a little better appearance at the street. And allocation of the space, again, that goes hand in hand with the access width limits. You're going to have a lot more concrete on a attached single family, or for better words, a duplex. And they're looking at 75%. Again, we worked with the developer to improve the look of the house as it appears from the street, and we have come to consensus. The staff recommends approving all 4 deviations. Staff recommendation, staff recommends approval of the request to rezone 17.6 acres from RP4 Planned Mixed Density Neighborhood District to RP4 Planned Mixed Density Neighborhood District with the associated preliminary plan and deviations. We also recommend approval of the preliminary plat with conditions that approval of the plat is contingent on the governing body approving the rezoning and associated preliminary development plan. And the final development plan and final plat, we've got 8 different conditions of approval.
All right. Any questions for staff at this point before we go to the public hearing? Okay. Thanks, Bob. So this item requires a public hearing. We will now open the public hearing. If anyone in the audience would like to speak regarding this item, and you have not already done so, please write your name and address on the sign-in sheet at the back of the room. And when you come to the podium, please state your name and address for the record. Individuals will have 3 minutes to speak. A speaker representing a group, such as an HOA, will be allotted 7 minutes. Please address your comments and any questions to the Planning Commission. Any questions raised by those speaking will be addressed at the conclusion of the public hearing. Does anyone wish to speak on this item? Please come forward now. Okay. Seeing as no one is approaching the podium, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close. Second.
A motion by Commissioner Soza with a second by Commissioner Berg. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Okay, we'll now move into commissioner discussion, and we'll start on my right again. If you have any questions for the applicant or the staff.
I'm just curious about, I haven't seen, what's the suburban deviation, the second one? What's the difference between the first and the second one? I'm not familiar with the suburban frontage yard. What is that?
Without having my actual code right in front of me, I can't spell out each specifics, but we have different frontage types that, based on the actual street and the building type, that's what those frontage types are based on. Usually suburban is, you would more likely see that in a single-family detached house.
Has to do with like how far the building is from the street.
Correct. There's when you start getting to a more dense developments, lots are smaller. There's a little bit more restrictions on those types of developments.
Questions, Commissioner Sosa, right now?
No, I'm good, thank you.
I wanted to wait until we heard the public hearing or not, but can you verify why we're rezoning something to itself? Is that because of the 2-year situation? I'm gonna have a similar question on the
No.
next item as well. But
Not a problem. I get this question all the time. When you have a planned development, the plan development is always accompanied with a rezoning petition because that plan development becomes basically a zoned district specific to itself. And that specific to itself is the actual plan itself. So anytime you see a plan development come before you, you will see an accompanied rezoning petition with that.
thank you.
Sure.
That's the only question I had.
I have a question for you. I should have brought this up before. This little map, the little red dot.
Did I put the red dot in the wrong location?
Well, it's on Main Street. You know, I see this little part of the map.
I'm gonna come over there and look at that.
Okay. So that's on. Okay. Lost in translation. Okay.
So
All right.
we'll make sure that's correct on the meeting minutes.
That's the only question I had.
Commissioner Lucci?
What, give me one question, track A. Detention pond's gonna be correct. Is that gonna be, we already have the 3 KCPL ponds there, correct? And I'm only asking this because we had a citizen concern a few meetings ago. What type of mitigation is there gonna be for such things as mosquitoes, other types of bugs? Because there
Sure.
is concern about that.
I believe this was designed as a dry retention basin. So you're not gonna have the standing water like you have at those other 2 on the south side of, just to the west. Is that correct? Yeah.
So a detention pond, not
A
not
detention, not a retention pond.
That was my only.
Okay.
So I didn't have any questions or comments to go over. I will entertain a motion on, let's see, I think we have 2 motions we need to make for this one, correct? Or is it just one? Staff?
There's
Oh, the rezoning.
preliminary development,
Okay.
and the preliminary plat, and then the final development plan plat together.
Okay. All right.
So the rezoning and the preliminary development plan are one. The preliminary plat is another motion, and then the final development plan and final plat is the last. And I have those up on the screen right now.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion. The Planning Commission, I'm so sorry. let me pause. As I see recommended in the verbiage here, don't we approve these or?
The rezoning, you are making a recommendation to governing body, so it's for the
Got it.
rezoning and preliminary development plan. It's a recommendation.
Oh, okay, perfect, thank you. So I will start the motion. The Planning Commission recommends approval of the request to rezone 17.6 acres from RP4 Plan Mixed Density Neighborhood District to RP4 Plan Mixed Density Neighborhood District with the associated preliminary development plan and deviations.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Combs and a second by Commissioner Berg. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Okay, move to the preliminary plat.
I'll move to make the motion. Planning Commission recommends approval of the preliminary plat with the condition that approval of the plat is contingent on the governing body approving the rezoning and associated preliminary development plan.
I'll second it.
Another motion by Commissioner Combs with a second by Commissioner Lucci. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. And the final development plan, final plat.
I'll make the motion. The Planning Commission recommends approval of the final development plan and final plat, provided the following conditions are met. Items listed 1 through 8 in the staff report.
Commissioner Combs, if I may, this is one that you are taking final action on.
Let me,
It's just not a recommendation.
that's right.
Okay.
I got confused from earlier, sorry. I will restate that motion.
We can amend the motion.
Okay.
You can just say, yeah, just state your
Uh,
amending.
The amendment, Planning Commission approval of the final development plan and final plat.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Combs, second by Commissioner Berg. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. All right, moving to item number 2, Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen. This is also a public hearing item. Is the developer here for a presentation?
Good evening, Dan Finn, civil engineer with Phelps Engineering, 1270 North Winchester, Olathe, Kansas. Here on behalf of CSM Group, who is the developer of the proposed Popeyes for this case. No additional presentation after the staff report. I am here to answer any questions now or later.
I think we're good for now.
Thank you.
Go.
You ready? Okay.
Ready.
Again, this is item 2. It's a rezoning, PDP, preliminary development plan, preliminary plat, final development plan, and final plat. This is very similar to the previous one in that the Regency West development had expired. And also, as part of the preliminary development plan, even though that wouldn't have expired because we had a daycare that was part of the original, there was enough change on the commercial lot that we felt that it needed to go back through the preliminary development plan process. This is located at the northwest corner of the intersection of 188th Street and South Gardner Road. To the north is vacant commercial ground and also Bumgars. To the east is the new Whataburger, and south is Quick Trip. The preliminary development plan includes M-Plat includes 2 lots and 1 tract. This development, again, is similar to the previous item on the agenda. The development was originally approved back in 2021. However, it was determined that the use on Lot 2 had substantial enough modifications from the previously approved preliminary development plan, and then a new preliminary development plan was required. And while the first phase of the final plat was recorded, which is the daycare I mentioned, no further action was taken to record the rest of the original plat. Under the Land Development Code, after 18 months, the rest of the unrecorded sections of the plat are required to be resubmitted. All utilities are available to this site. The final plat includes basically Lot 1 and 1 tract for Popeye's Chicken Restaurant. The new plat is dividing the property into basically 1 lot. Well, that's not right. The final development plan is generally in conformance with the preliminary development plan. The proposal is for a 2,700 square foot restaurant with a drive-through. Access is from 187th Terrace, a private road that is located to the west of Gardner Road. The final development plan meets all of the code standards with the exception of the requested deviation. This is the west and north elevation of the Popeye's Chicken. North side of the elevation faces their parking lot. This is the east and south. The east basically fronts onto Gardner Road. The building meets the street-facing facade transparency requirements, and the building materials utilize EIFS, painted metal, and brick. There's 1 deviation that was requested to allow additional parking. The applicant has stressed that because of the amount of staffing at the restaurant, limiting the parking would not allow them to operate efficiently. The applicant has added additional screening around the parking lot along the north side of the building. Staff recommends approval of the parking deviation request. The standard is one space for every 3 seats, which is basically 8 to 10 seats. Proposed 29 spaces is what they're looking at going to. Staff recommends approval of the request to rezone. .19 acres from RP. Actually, that should be, I believe that's 17 acres, shouldn't it? 15.19 acres from RP5 Planned Apartment District and CP2 Planned Commercial District to RP5 and CP2 with the associated preliminary development plan and deviation related to an increase in the maximum allowed parking space subject to the following conditions 1 through 4. Preliminary staff recommends approval of the preliminary plat with conditions that approval of the plat is contingent on the governing body accepting the rezoning and associated preliminary development plan. And the final development plan and plat. Staff recommends approval of the final development plan and final plat provided the following conditions were met 1 through 5.
Thank you. Since this is another public hearing item, we'll now open the public hearing. Same rules as before, 3 minutes for an individual, 7 for a group. State your name and address for the public record. Last call. Seeing as there was no one approaching the podium, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Combs, close public hearing, second by Commissioner Souza. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Okay, moving to commissioner discussion. We'll start on my left this time.
It's just a curiosity question. All access is going to be off of the private drive? There's no access off
The 187th Terrace is the private drive that leads you to basically Bumgars, the daycare, and then this development. And there will be a cross-access easement going from the apartment side of this development down to the south to connect up with the Wendy site that you guys approved, was that a couple months ago?
Is that the future drive that you're speaking to, or is that something else?
Now, this 187th Terrace is existing. But the future will be a cross-access easement that connects north and south from 187th down, basically down to Locust Road.
That was my only question.
I had the same question, so I don't have any other questions.
My question is on the private drive. Probably goes without saying, but I want to ask. Maintenance is not the city's responsibility because it's a private drive?
For private drives, the maintenance falls onto the adjacent properties
Yeah. And
or an association if they create one.
And in the event there's maintenance that's needed, are there rules and or standards that one must meet and abide by?
So anytime a private road is built here in the city, it is to be built to city standards, which if I were going to do development, I don't know why you'd do a private drive. But it is supposed to be built to city standards, so our Public Works Department and the engineers over there review all the plans and specs to ensure that it's actually built to city standards.
And the future connection, will that be the city's or also a private drive to a point?
That will be a private drive too.
Okay, no other questions. Thank you.
Okay.
I don't have anything. They already asked my questions, so thank you. Yeah, I don't have any questions either.
I had one. So the right out, so you're heading out of the development, is there going to be like a do not enter sign so that people coming into the development do not turn into that?
So I think the city engineer and the developer kind of worked out an agreement that there will be a median built up to the point just right before Bumgar's entrance, and the right out will force people to take that right out. They won't be able to go around it.
Okay. Yeah, I could see people trying to dive in there. Yeah, not
We've seen that before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the only question I had. So. If there is no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion on the first part of this item.
Motion that Planning Commission recommends approval of the request to rezone 15.19 acres from RP5 Planned Apartment District to CP2 Planned Commercial District to RP5 and CP2 with the associated preliminary development plan and deviation related to an increase in maximum allowed parking spaces subject to the following conditions. Conditions number 1 through 4.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Lucci, a second by Commissioner Combs. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Moving on to the next one.
That the Planning Commission recommends approval of the preliminary plat with the condition that approval of the plat is contingent on the governing body approving the rezoning and associated preliminary development plan.
Second.
Let Philip get that one. So, motion by Commissioner Alucci, second by Commissioner Landsberg. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. And then the final development plan, final plat.
The Planning Commission recommends approval, correction, the Planning Commission approved the final development plan and the final plat provided the following conditions are met, conditions 1 through 5.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Lucci, second by Commissioner Combs. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. All right, item number 3. This is Four Corners Village. This item will also have a public hearing. Is the applicant here for presentation?
Good evening. My name's Tim Tucker, Tucker. I'm also with Phelps Engineering, 1270 North Winchester, Olathe, Kansas. I'm here on behalf of Four Corners Investors, and the application is for rezoning and preliminary plat of 75.8 acres for 212 single-family detached lots. Current zoning of the property is RUR, county zoning for ag, and we are proposing to rezone it to R1, single-family detached, with a suburban house type. So that allows us to do minimum 70-foot wide lots, minimum 8,000 square foot. Our smallest lots, just a little over 8,050 square foot. Our largest is little over 21,000 square feet, and the average is a little over 10,000 square feet. So we're 125% of the minimum requirement. So the property abuts 167th Street, and we've got a single access off 167th Street. The preliminary plat, the final plat will be, half of it will be built in the first plat, and then second phase for the back half. So the first half will create a connection to the west. The two following applications are for elementary school. They're building a road over to our connection point with their application and running parallel with us. So by the time, I think we got a stipulation requiring we can do up to a maximum of 30 lots, and then we have to have a second access, which we would anticipate that we'll have that with the school before we get our 30 lots. That's really all I have, other than, we've read through the stipulations. Their zoning didn't have any stipulations, and we're in agreement with that. The preliminary plat has stipulations 1 through 3, and then they added a 4th one this afternoon, which we've read, has to do with the entrance, and we're in agreement with all 4 of those stipulations. So other than that, I'd stand for questions if you have any now or after staff presentation.
I guess just get out of the way. Are there any, based on the traffic study, were there any improvements to the intersection at the entrance of this that were going to be needed?
Yeah, we did a traffic study, and the recommendation was that at our entrance on 167th Street, we would have a shared right in, right out. There'd be 2 turn lanes for in, and then a shared turn lane for out, if that makes sense. A right and left turn going out, shared turn lane.
Yes.
Single lane, basically. And then you'll have both your turning movements coming in will have a turn lane, so we'll have a 150-foot long turn lane. Be similar to what we did with Cypress Creek just down the street, about the exact same improvements.
Is there any other commissioner questions before we move to the staff report? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. Jesse Hunter, planner here with the city. Before I start, and let's see, a comment was emailed out to you, a letter from a neighbor, and then that was also provided to you before you got here, just in case you didn't get a chance to see it in your emails. So the applicant is requesting approval of a rezoning and associated preliminary plat for residential development. The property consists of 2 parcels totaling 75.85 acres located north of 167th Street between Kill Creek Road and Four Corners Road It does not touch Four Corners Road. The property was annexed earlier this year. There is a house in the southwest corner of the property, but most of the land is agricultural. There were approximately 12 oil wells spaced out on the property, but they have been removed along with the holding tanks that were at the south end of the property. At the time of final platting, a report will be provided to ensure the wells were removed and capped in accordance with the regulations set by the Kansas Department of Health and Environment. The property is currently zoned County Rural Residential and is also surrounded by County Rural Residential to the north, south, and west. To the east is Gardner Edgerton School property and a future phase of Symphony Farms. They are currently zoned R1, single-family residential. The darker yellow shown on the screen is undeveloped and is zoned RP3, Planned Garden Apartment Zoning District. That plan has since expired. The City of Gardner Comprehensive Plan identifies this parcel for low-density residential. The proposed rezoning to R1, single-family residential, is considered low-density residential, which is consistent with the future land use map. The preliminary plat consists of 212 70-foot wide lots, 70-foot minimum, and they are the detached house suburban building type. The minimum lot size is 8,050 square feet in this development. In the center are several tracts providing private open space, a trail, and an area with a playground. There is also 30 feet, 1/2 of a future collector along the western portion of the north property line. Both the road from West 167th Street and the road to the east of the roundabout are considered collector neighborhood and will have 60 foot of right-of-way. The rest of the internal street network is considered local neighborhood or local standard and will have 50 foot wide right-of-way. Sidewalks will be built along both sides of the collector streets, so the main one that goes north and south and the one to the east. And for all the other streets, there will be sidewalk along one side. The development has 2 phases. Phase 1 includes the southern 2/3 of the development with 130 lots and will include the amenity area on tracts C and D, the stormwater detention basin in tract E, and the collector streets, collector street leading to the east will also be included. Phase 2 will include the remaining lots and the stormwater detention basin in the northwest corner of the development. Phase 1 will be accessed from West 167th Street and includes 2 step streets, one on the west and one to the east. The fire code requires developments of more than 30 lots to have at least 2 points of access. Until a second point of access is provided, which is likely to be done with the new elementary school if it's approved and built. Until that's done, the number of building permits that may be issued will be limited to 30. The extension of the street on the east will be considered as part of the, I already said that. Staff finds that with the recommended conditions of approval, the plan meets the review criteria for rezoning to the R1 district and preliminary plat for 212 single-family lots, and it provides for future development to the northwest. There are 2 motions for this item, and staff recommends approval of the rezoning and the associated preliminary plat with 4 conditions. For the rezoning, the Planning Commission is a recommending body, while for the preliminary plat, you are the approval body. There was a 4th condition added to the preliminary plat to resolve an issue brought up, and it's in regards to the existing driveway just to the west and how close it would be to the main access point into this development. The condition could require moving the access point farther to the east and rearranging some of the lots at the southern end of the development, and this would be done before the final plat. Staff is available for any questions.
At this time, we will open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this item will have about 3 minutes to speak. If you are representing a group, you will be allotted 7 minutes to speak. Please state your name and address for the public record when you come forward. And I think, like I said earlier, at the conclusion, let me find what it says here exactly. So, but after, any comments that are brought up, we'll make sure that those are addressed in the commissioner discussion portion.
Janet Strack, 16615 Four Corners Road. I have several concerns and many questions, so I'll just kind of throw some of those out. I'm wondering about the city of Gardner, and I am rural, and there were several other people that we are in Johnson County, not in Gardner, but then this development butts right up to us. And we've had, there's 5 acres, 10 acres, 15 acres, and some nice homes. And so I'm concerned about the city of Gardner wanting to, I would like to see it blend more. Maybe what's the name of that? On the south side of 167th, there's a new subdivision going in. I can't think of the name right now.
That's
Has bigger lots. And so my concern and what I would prefer is to see bigger lots. And some of the questions I have is, are there going to be basements? What is the square footage average for these houses? Would you consider bigger lots? Garages, are there going to be garages? How many? 2, 3? Are there HOA rules? And keeping the property nice. And then you talked about the existing driveway, and there's a tree line there. Will that be kept intact, that tree line, rather than wiped out? And will there be any kind of buffering? And then I'm concerned about where the second access that you're talking about in the future, where that's coming from. I'm sure there's many other questions and possible other people that want to speak, so I will let you be.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Rebecca Barton, 33250 West 167th Street. I'm also rural, and on future designs, they are having a road go behind all of our property off of Four Corners. That is a very big concern of mine. I have a pond there, and I worry about the environmental impact of this, since we don't have very much rural left. And we have a lot of animals and different things out there. One of our neighbors hunts on his property. I shoot on my property. Like I said, I have my pond out there. I'm concerned about an HOA. Is there going to be one in this place? Because they talk about the playground and everything else. 5-10 years in, is it going to be maintained? If they don't have an HOA, or is the city of Gardner going to maintain that? The basements is a concern. We have already slab houses down the street, and now I'm hearing these are going to be slab houses. Is there going to be a tornado shelter for any of these people that are all these places that are being built out there? I know there's places in Oklahoma that are slab homes and they have tornadoes too, but I think we should be able to plan better for that stuff to take care of the people that are living here. So those are my concerns. The amount of houses on here, honestly, I think it would be nicer if they were plotted like Symphony Farms, so we have some cohesion out there instead of smaller slab homes from what I've seen. I could be given wrong information, but that's what it looks like. And I just think it's just not a good spot for that many houses being built on, and how will they be maintained? Because we see a lot of these smaller home neighborhoods deteriorate within 10 or 15 years. And we really don't want to, I mean, I know I'm rural, and maybe Gardner will absorb me one day, hopefully not, but maybe they will. But I really don't want Gardner to be known as the small home capital of Johnson County and I'm not like small homes have bad people, they don't. But we need to have a variety, and I do think having it cohesive with Symphony Farms would be a lot nicer with bigger plots and nicer homes. And I really am concerned about having all of these be slab houses out there. And we have a tornado, because we do live in Kansas. So that's my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, the biggest one. The traffic on 167th too is gonna be horrible. It already is starting up to be horrible, and with the new school going in, it's gonna be even more horrible. We put a lot of these houses, we're gonna see a lot more traffic out there. That is gonna be dangerous. That's gonna be a dangerous road, and Four Corners will also pick up traffic, because as you know, there's development going in at 175th, and they're gonna be shooting up Four Corners, and that's gonna be a traffic issue. So, I almost forgot that. Thank you, guys.
Hi, my name is Natasha Dietz, address 33450 West 167th. My main concern about this development is the existing ongoing traffic concern. I live on the corner of 167th and Four Corners. Every morning, the traffic on that corner, parents dropping kids off to go into Symphony Farms to that school. There's going to be another school there. There's going to add 212 proposed homes. Another, 280 something on 175th? Are those children going there too? This one little turning lane that they're putting in has been very inadequate for the existing subdivisions that are already there. So to do that again, we're putting lipstick on a pig. I'm sorry, but it really needs to, the infrastructure needs to be put in place prior to this being, the road is not adequate to hold that. There are no shoulders, there are no anything, and the corner right now is bananas in the morning. We have to gauge, you don't leave at between 7 and 8 in the morning and in the afternoon. So I'm just asking that you guys really, really look at the traffic situation prior to approving any of that. Thank you so much.
Jim Humbert, 34590 West 167th Street. I am the developer of Symphony Farms. I'm gonna mix two subjects tonight. I'm gonna mix this school and this. Having only one exit for this subdivision to 167th Street is going to force half those cars into that school and already down 167th Street. That's gonna be a lot of vehicles. And I'd welcome anyone to come out in the mornings or the afternoons to see the 40 to 50 cars that stack up on Kill Creek. That's with one school. I'd highly recommend a second exit to 167th Street, because we have no idea when that next road's gonna come to get them out to Four Corners. So please consider that tonight.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this item? Seeing as no one is approaching the podium, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Alucci, a second by Commissioner Berg. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Okay. move into commissioner discussion, and we'll start on my right this time.
Yeah, I have a quick question, probably for the applicant, which that, there's been a lot of conjecture of the slab or basement, can we get some clarity on what's intended to be built for those homes?
Tim Tucker with Phelps Engineering again. There'll be a mixture of slab and basements. The topography doesn't allow us to do all slabs on the property. On the slabs, the homeowners have the option of putting in a storm shelter, which is basically like a bolted down steel closet, big closet or whatever. But it's not a requirement, it's an option for each one of the owners. They've got one at Cypress Creek, if you want to take a look at it or whatever. What was the other question? Was that it?
That was the question I had.
Okay. There's a bunch.
I know
There's several questions.
Well, there was a question from the first one we spoke about, what's the average square foot for the houses that you're looking to develop?
So, Four Corners Investors is a developer,
Yeah.
and we're developing R1 detached suburban, so that's 70-foot lots, so they don't have any design standards or anything, so they're selling them to whoever, and it could be, as long as it fits and meets the setback requirements, a 25-foot or 20-foot, I think is what we got front setback, 25 rear, and I believe it's 7 sides. As long as it fits within, the code, they can build whatever.
I hate to ask you to come back up. Can
I was
you,
wondering how it's gonna happen.
can you elaborate a little bit on Philip's question, uniquely related to the average square footage? Not so much, if you don't have a number, then that's fine. But when you say they can build whatever they want to, as long as the homes fit within the code, are there floor plans? Are there model options that
No,
exist
they're
at this stage?
strictly developer. Just developing the lots to sell to builders.
Yeah, so I think this is like, normally we see RP type zoning requests, and so like those have associated preliminary development plans that come with them. Versus this one is just the rezonings, like I said, they've got, like, I guess, theoretically it could, if we approved it, it could come back with a different, lot layout, let's say, I guess. They would have to redo the plat and stuff, as long as it fit our R1 criteria. Is that correct, staff?
Yes, that's correct.
What I would anticipate is that this developer is doing all of the infrastructure and then selling the lots, and it might be to a variety of builders. So you're not going to have one builder come in and build 4 different houses, you might say. Is that
That's
right?
correct.
Okay.
If I can, while we're just talking, there were a couple other questions that may be best addressed by the applicant, including garages and the HOA creation of. And then you may want to talk a little bit about the traffic improvements.
I've got them all written down here. I can go through them here. So there will be an HOA. We have a central park area, fairly good sized. There's detention basin in the second phase back at the northeast corner. And then there's down at the southwest corner, there's a track area there, which is high pressure gas lines that go through. So, and then we've got landscape easements and tracks along 167th and then along our front entrance. So we'll have to have an HOA, and there will be maintenance provided on that. Garages, once again, I can't really answer any questions on garages because I would assume everything's going to have a minimum, probably a 2-car garage, and probably be some three-car garages. Traffic was a question that was the last one of concern. And I know it's always a concern. And this scenario is kind of a little bit worse than most because you do have a school. Schools produce traffic. It's on a dead end. Now we're adding another school, but this development provides that secondary access that the one gentleman was speaking about to provide a loop through there. The stub that the gal was concerned about going to the east, that was a requirement from the city, and that's planning for the future to make sure when that ground develops, you aren't creating a bunch of single access, dead end spots, which has to go to emergency response. I mean, it's good planning. And we've got access to the north for the same thing, for development going to the north. So unfortunately, I mean, everybody wants infrastructure first, but it doesn't work that way unless the city pays for all of it. And the city doesn't have the money to pay for the infrastructure up front. So it's usually passed on to the developer, and the infrastructure comes with development, with rooftops. So as it develops, it should improve.
So there's no road going to the west from this development?
There is a stub, not a road. It's allowed for future.
If Gardner decides to annex anything?
Correct. Or if the county develops, somebody comes into the county on one of them properties and decides to develop, the county also wants that connection. So,
Can you show this in a map? Where is that second? Where is that stuff? So the access road off 167 going north will all be collector roads, so is it 16 feet access?
Yes, the north-south, the main one,
And then
is
the
collector,
roundabout going east to school
it's collector,
would be
is also collector.
all the way over to Kill Creek.
Generally, that means we wouldn't have driveways on them. This development has, on the one that goes to the east, there are 6. There will be 6 driveways on that collector, but the north-south collector will not have any.
So it'll be similar to Kill Creek in the way that street kind of drives then, I guess.
Yes.
And then regarding the future stub to the west, I know it probably wouldn't show it on the plat, but maybe like, is it gonna have like the bulb out or like the temporary cul-de-sac for turning around there?
It will not, because if it's less than 150 feet in length, then it's just used as a hammerhead, basically. You could pull in and
Okay.
do a 3-point turn.
We got kind of out of order, I guess. We did. Sorry.
Yes, I'm done.
So I was gonna ask a question about the number of garden homes, slab homes, but you don't know what that's gonna be, because you don't know what the developer's gonna do, correct?
I don't know.
And then I had the same questions about the access. It looks to me like there's 4, and it sounds like you're counting on the school to build that road to be your second access point.
Correct.
Most quickly.
Yes,
And then the north and the west, those are both gonna be stubs
for the future.
for future development.
And then as Jesse had mentioned, if you look all the way up at the north, take the collector all the way to the north, and then there's half of a collector's right of way, 30 foot, going from the collector to the west.
Okay. And then, question for staff, on this map, what is the purple dotted line?
That's their phasing line. It
Gotcha.
goes through, is that what you're?
Okay. That's the questions I have, thank you.
With anything, you're gonna have traffic. I get that. But I would wish the police department, I know what your staffing is, but along with Public Works, it's ED's responsibility to figure out traffic flow. Right? Right? Because
Say that again.
there's certain times of the day, I've seen 167th Street, okay? Well, like at Moon Lake, there's signs that say, from this time to this time, no right turn, no left turn. There's 159th Street off of Kill Creek, so there are 2 exits. signs up or, you know, talk to the school district to say, hey, between this hour and this hour, if you're coming out of Pioneer Ridge, you can only go left. Up to 159th, others can go over to Four Corners, they can go to Gardner Road, they can go to Waverly, wherever they need to go, which will alleviate some of the traffic problems we're talking about. Is that, you know, something that staff has to get with the city or the developer, you know, you guys get together? Because I'm saying there's more than one way out of it. And again, if we get that Second Street, you know, that passes in front of the school.
And I think what we did, we talked more about traffic with the elementary school in terms of starting time, stopping time, circulation for drop-offs and things. So
Right.
that's where we focused with respect to traffic. I would also, while we recognize on 167th there will need to be improvements, that project is starting farther east and is being done in sections. So it's going to, it's on the radar, I guess I'd like to say,
Right.
but it's not imminent in terms of design and construction.
But until then, to alleviate some of the problem, who would we need to as a city? You know, like I said, we already have the signs that you left at Moonlight. You can't come out, you cannot make a left-hand turn. Not Moonlight, you have to go right.
I think
That
what
would
we
help.
would do is we could get together, community development could get together with engineering and with the police department and discuss this.
I think that would help alleviate some of the concerns, but, you know, keeping the public, you know, informed, you know, on what's going on. My only other question is, and I hate to bring this up, but 12 oil rigs that were on this land, they're being capped.
They have been capped.
How far down? Has there been any mitigation?
I don't know the depth. The previous property owner had them all capped per state standards.
Because, you know, my concern is the developer's gonna come in there, start digging the basement, next thing you know, he's gonna rip off the cap off a well. You know, I'm just saying, for you guys.
Yeah, but I think I'm not an expert on this. I
Neither am I.
I looked that up. It's kind of like what state requirements were and stuff. And like, if you hit in a zone of where there's water or whatever, they have to plug 50 feet below that location and 50 feet above. So it's not like it's a
Right.
2 or 3
Cap
foot
that.
cap. It's a 50-foot plug.
If it's done correctly.
Yes.
Okay. So the developer will know where these, you know, when all the groundwork goes in, they'll know where these are.
Yes.
To avoid any issues.
Yes.
And, you know, I know when, you know, I always look at things in a different way. When stuff like that, when something like that comes up, is there any mitigation around, because obviously there was oil spilled out of the ground, you know? Did anything happen with that? As far as, you know, you have to take a certain amount of soil away?
I think that would have had to been done as part of the capping through KDHE in terms of their requirements. And with it being done before it was annexed, we would not have been involved in that review.
So was the oil, forgive me, because was that done prior to us annexing the land, you know?
Do you know when they were capped? Because it was annexed just this.
I don't. You're kind of getting out of my expertise.
We can follow up and get that information. With this being a preliminary, we could do that at the final plat for sure.
I appreciate that.
So that we're aware. We'll try to get it before then though.
Thank you. Nothing for.
I have a question for staff. I know that 167th Street improvements is on the community improvement plan. I can't pull it up on my phone. I don't know if that's something you can pull up. And I'm talking about the plan for, not Moonlight to Gardner Road or Gardner Road to, I can't think of the name of the street. Waverly, thank you. But I'm talking about the Waverly to Four Corners Road. Is that something you can pull up so we can see when it is designed and when it is planned right now to be expanded?
I could try.
I can't pull it up on my phone because I tried. Okay. I know it's in the plan, and I know the Moonlight to Waverly is planned, I think this next year, 26. Okay. And I know that I saw it on the community improvement plan for Waverly to Four Corners Road. I just don't remember if it was 27 or 28 that it's planned.
We'll look that up
Okay.
and get back to you. We may not have that tonight.
Okay, thank you. I think that might help with some of the questions, because expanding it will help with the traffic too. That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
I had a couple questions based on the comments as well. Just to confirm, I guess, phase one, there was the detention basin. Is it a detention or retention basin?
It is a wet bottom. They're all detention, retention. I don't even want to get in the term. Just, it's a wet pond in the first plat, and we're using that for detention. And it'll also be used as an amenity. And then we've got on the west side of that pond, we have got open space area there for ball fields and some benches, and there's a trail that cuts through. And then as you cross over the Collector Street, there's another open space track there that we've got a soft play area. So it's kind of a central community area, park area.
Because I know there's ponds and stuff. Obviously at Celebration Park, there's ponds at Symphony Farms.
Mhm.
I know we had concerns about ponds at another development in another part of town. Does staff have any concern with that being a wet pond on this development?
From a stormwater standpoint, we would need to make sure that it meets the requirements for stormwater. From a maintenance in terms of mosquitoes, that would fall under code enforcement if that becomes an issue. And we have been talking with code enforcement more so based on concerns previously expressed, so I'm sure that's something that they will be looking at more closely.
Okay. And was for this development, is all the stormwater plan to go to those detention basins in phase one and phase two? It won't be going off of the site? Is that a correct statement?
I would say 90% of it.
Okay.
There's some along the perimeters that will sheet flow off that it's still gonna be turf grass to turf grass. It's not
It's
the
not
impervious
hardscape.
area.
Yeah.
Your question on the ponds, typically the ones that create the mosquitoes and stuff is not a manicured pond. This is gonna be more like a golf course pond, I guess. It is gonna have native prairie grasses around it, because we're using that for stormwater treatment, but it does not have any littoral benches where we're gonna have specific wetland plants in there, which that's what really creates your mosquitoes and stuff, as opposed to it's gonna have a fairly quick drop off. And if you keep your water 4 foot and deeper, you don't get the vegetation and you won't get nearly the mosquito problems.
I guess question for staff again. There was the kind of the questions about the comparison of this development density compared to Hilltop Ridge and compared to Symphony Farms. Are we a little it's the same as Symphony Farms or what?
It is slightly more dense units per acre than Hilltop Ridge. I did not check Symphony Farms.
Okay. Just like it appeared to be very similar, at least to my eyes, to that size of development. So at least from what I could tell, but I didn't do the math.
Yeah. They are also 70-foot wide minimum, and then that 8,000 minimum.
Yep. Okay. There was a question about landscape buffering to existing homes. We're not, obviously this is just the preliminary plats. We're not seeing a landscape plan or anything with that. I don't believe we can put any stipulations as far as buffering to existing homes on the preliminary plat.
You can put on any conditions. You could put on a condition about that if you choose to do so. By the code requirement, R1 does not require buffering to adjacent zoning.
Okay.
I'm sorry, our manager just asked this, but the tree line.
That's what you got.
Is that what you were just referring to?
Not the existing ones, but it was kind of more along the majority western boundary.
So can we get clarity on the tree line? There was a question, and I'm sorry, I don't know if that question was the east or west tree line. Maybe we can talk about them both. But one of the questions were, would the tree line remain? I don't know if you know the answer to that at this stage.
I really don't at this point. I mean, we want to keep the trees we can,
Sorry.
and the perimeter ones are going to be the easiest ones for us to keep down the property line.
Yeah.
But we'll have to run utilities there too, so if we can offset them in and save the back 10 feet for trees, we will.
So I do have another question, and I'm hesitating even to ask, but I'm just going to. From an HOA perspective, who would set the standards or the bylaws of that HOA? And question one, question two, and would those members and or the bylaws be able to dictate the kind of build that is put on the property? I don't know if I'm too early in asking that question, but
Typically, covenants and restrictions are set by the developer, and he's the one that's got the right to do it, and he wants to do it because he's got the investment in the ground, so he wants to make sure that same concerns the neighbors have,
yeah.
you know, that it maintains a certain standard so that he can develop all the way through that. So, and then the city generally always requires to get a draft copy or something of the HOA covenants and restrictions, and then they review it for anything from a city standpoint. And then usually with the platting of each plat, there'll be a covenant and restrictions done, and then amendments with each plat following. And I'm talking in general, so you probably should ask staff if I've said that correct for them.
Well, there's a couple of things that I would jump in and add. Yes, we get a draft copy of restrictions, but we do not enforce them.
Right.
That's not the city's responsibility.
Okay.
And two, we are requiring that all final plats have a statement regarding continued maintenance. For example, if the HOA were for some reason to dissolve, we would then be looking to all of the property owners within that subdivision to be responsible. If we had to go in and do something, it would be a nightmare to have to assess each property, but that's what we would do if the HOA wasn't going to handle it.
Thank you.
With the larger open spaces and the parks areas that they're providing or proposing, it's less likely that that will happen. If it was all just open space with no amenities, just passive open space, then that's more common, but still not super common.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, thank you both. I don't have any.
Any other commissioner discussion?
Maybe we should. I'd really, Commissioner Lucci, I'd really like to get some of the feedback related to traffic. And I mean, you're one of the experts on the panel, but with assuming things go, through its full development of phase 1 and 2, what are some traffic mitigation concerns beyond what we've seen that could even be recommended to ensure safety, backup of 30 or 40 cars aren't there during school mornings? Are there other features that you're familiar with, or even yet that of staff, that could apply here?
If I could jump in
Yeah.
with what Commissioner Berg was mentioning, on our website there is this page that talks about improvements on 167th, but I don't think it has the actual plans or specific details to what it would be, other than it mentions a 2-lane median divided road and eventually future 4-lane arterial. And that project extends from Moonlight to Four Corners. I don't know specific section timelines or anything. This was all I could find.
Okay, I know when we did the community improvement plan earlier in the year, that was I'm on a computer, I can find it.
It's at 28.
This mentions 28.
Right, I saw that.
Interject a few things. Phases are gonna take how long? You're not talking next year, this thing's gonna be complete, correct? You're talking phase one, probably be finished by 27?
It'll take, you know, once an approval comes, we gotta do construction docs.
Want to catch up?
So to answer that question, once approvals come, we have to do construction docs. That's gonna take 6 to 9 months just to get construction docs before any piece of ground's even touched. And then once that happens, we've gotta put all the infrastructure in, all the roads in. That's gonna take essentially about a year probably, and then we would start developing the phases.
So we're actually looking at possibly the road improvements.
Coinciding.
To the construction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there's one thing. When traffic builds, the city's gonna keep an eye on traffic. The city will do another traffic study at some point, I would imagine. And that, at that point, things could be recommended, like, depending on the amount of traffic, four-way stops, you know, or traffic lights, traffic signals, okay? And again, other civil things, and it's tough, because the PD does have a lot of manpower, but they have SROs there, a school that, you know, when school's over, come out, you know, where the simple sign, this is, from this hour to this hour, left-hand turns only, because 159's a good road, you can get anywhere off 159, you know? So, I mean, those are just simple things that you can do, but yes, traffic's a concern, but again, if we look at, you know, when the improvements are coming along, it could coincide exactly when these places are gonna start actually building the homes. You know, so hopefully that'll be done to alleviate,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I mean, past the subdivision is all county, who knows what the county's gonna be. Four Corners and, you know, in 167, that's within the county. I would contact them and see if they could do a study out there for that. Cause I understand what you're saying, I've been out there a lot, so.
I spoke with the county and they are doing a traffic study. So,
Yeah.
because they recognize this is gonna be a nightmare. Sorry, Rebecca Barton.
So that's things, you know, consider.
And this is maybe more for staff, but we clearly are going to see this again. This is just a preliminary plat. So while sure we could put conditions on it now, there are unknowns, and we would maybe address any concerns as we see the final plat come in front of us.
Right, you will see the final plat in phases coming back to you. We will take another look. I'm not a traffic expert. Our Public Works Department and a third-party consultant reviews the traffic studies. And so we'll take another look at that because I'm sure that there were some type of road improvements or peripheral road improvements or we're paying money in lieu of to make some of those improvements. And especially with 167th being under design, it will be built in at least 3 phases in terms of the improvements. And we'll try to have a better answer on that timing for you.
Here's another question. So with the elementary school development, the key part for you to go beyond the 30 homes is that connection.
Mm-hmm.
Do there, in the process of making that connection to the point in time where you go beyond those 30, can you talk a little bit about what that timing looks like in me? So there probably doesn't need to be any homes anywhere. There simply just needs to be a road that is constructed that would essentially allow the developer to go beyond the 30. And I'm trying to figure out the timing of, okay, what truly opens up this 212 number in terms of the timing, taking everything into account with the traffic piece that we talked about and the unknown development of the elementary school?
Well, I think if I recall, the 212 is the total number of units for the whole development.
Correct.
Their first phase is around 130.
Right.
And we are going to move forward if, with approvals that go through, their first phase would come back with 130 lots, and they could put the infrastructure for all of that in. However, we would not issue building permits only for 1 through 30. Now, where in that 130 lots would they be located? It's not necessarily all in one place.
Got it.
However, we would not issue building permit 31 until that connection is made to the east and that road goes all the way to Kill Creek.
And if something were obviously not to happen in terms of that connector, then that's a redesign on your part. I mean, you're putting a lot into, of course, the
Oh, yeah.
development of the school.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, no question. They could do that now,
Yes.
but they're not.
They could go north or they could go, well, the north stub is in their second phase.
Correct.
But the west stub is in their first phase, and it's really just having that second point of access. And if
Well,
jump
I'll
out
leave
there and
it.
say they could be constructing a road to make that second point of connection, I know they don't wanna hear that,
Mm-hmm.
but
Sure.
if that's what it took for them,
Correct.
they would have to do that if they wanted additional building permits.
Well, for me, and I'll close at least for the group, I think 212 is too big of a number. That's just personal, related to traffic and some of the issues that already exist and certainly will be exacerbated by the school, by this development. On the flip side, I'll tell you, we need development in Gardner of this kind of zoning, this, forget the slab versus basement topic for a moment. This is development that I believe we need in Gardner. If we can really address the concerns around traffic, I think I would feel comfortable about looking at anything on a final standpoint. My final question, actually, I'm sorry, I just forgot something that I was going to ask you. Have there been any engagement or conversations with the current property owners in the surrounding area, or are there plans to have conversations? And I'm asking that because earlier we talked about HOAs,
Mm-hmm.
and of course the developer wanting to make sure those in the surrounding communities are in alignment. Has any of that dialogue started?
With regards to,
Just in general, the concerns that you're hearing tonight, is this the first time you're probably hearing those concerns? Have you or anyone on your team had direct conversations with the residents?
we have not had direct conversations. This is the first we're hearing that, but a lot of that stuff we already knew because we did a traffic study, so we know those type of things. We do this all the time.
Sure.
So we always know what the issues are, and this is one of those unique phases where you're putting a school in, and we're putting a subdivision in, and there is a lot of traffic. There's no doubt, but it's kind of that one thing, if we don't go in, you're still gonna have a lot of traffic and nowhere for it to go.
Totally.
So,
Understand.
yeah.
It's,
The last thing we want is to have to deal with traffic, but, we deal with it every day, and we have experts that do studies and recommendations, and staff and people approve those, and then we move on.
well, thank you for that.
Yep, absolutely.
I don't-
Yeah. I'd say like my kind of feeling on this is like, I'd rather see the like an RP1 type zoning, but I understand the reasoning why it's not, but at least being an R1, it's not, because it's locking it into the single family detached homes with that minimum 70-foot lot width, 8,000-foot size. I know a lot of people my age would love to buy a single family home right next to a new school.
Mhm.
So I think, it's going to be a desirable area. I think limiting, putting the stipulation of limiting the building permits to 30, I think it does address some of the traffic concerns. And yeah, I mean, it's, you know, they could have came in with like an R2 zoning similar to Cypress Creek or something like that too, you know, proposed single-family homes. But, you know, if somebody wanted to come in later, if there was an R2, they could change that. With this being the R1, they can't, it'd be something different than that, so.
Can I answer
I-
one of the questions you
it-
asked?
No, we don't have the public hearing open right now, I'm sorry. So I guess, I think at least for the concerns that I had written down, I feel like we asked a lot of the questions and got those addressed. I feel comfortable moving forward on this.
Sir, before you leave the podium, will you give your name and address for the record?
Yes, it's Brian O'Banion, and that's O apostrophe, capital BANION. That's 5750 West 95th Street. And that's Overland Park, Kansas, 66207. Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion on this item.
That the planning commission recommend approval of the rezoning to rezone 78.15 acres from county RUR, county rural residential district to R1 single-family residential district.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Lucci, second by Commissioner Byrd. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. And then the preliminary plat.
That the, excuse me, planning commission approve the Four Corners Village preliminary plat subject to the following conditions 1 through 4.
Second.
Again, a motion by Commissioner Lucci, second by Commissioner Byrd. All those in favor?
Can I?
Aye.
Can we clarify? Oh, no. You said 1 through 4, sorry.
Yeah, 1 through 4. Yep. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Okay. Move on to item number 4, Gardner Edgerton School District Elementary School. This is also a public hearing item. Is the applicant here for a presentation?
Name's David Ratley. I'm with MKEC Engineering. We're here on behalf of the school district. The school district is also here. Don't have any additional presentation what the staff already has, but here to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Staff report, please.
Good evening. So, the property consists of 15.17 acres located just to the east of the item you just heard. On the west side of Kill Creek Road, it is just south of Trail Ridge Middle School. The site includes a portion of the parcel to the south, and the school district is in the process of purchasing it. You can see it, it's like this little notch out, and it's right where the collector will be extended. Both parcels are currently vacant. The property is zoned R1, single-family residential. The area to the north, east, and south are of the same zoning, while the property to the west, which you just heard, is still currently RUR until the governing body makes a decision. The City of Gardner Comprehensive Plan designates the future land use of the subject property as public/semi-public. The proposed rezoning to RP1 planned single-family district with the proposed use of a community elementary school is consistent with the future land use map. The proposed layout complies with the prominent civic building type as outlined in the Land Development Code. 2 entrances to the site are proposed off of the new collector 164th Street, which will be built leading to the west as part of the school project. During pickup and drop-off times, vehicles will take the western entrance and will loop through the parking lot where students will enter and exit the school through the south building entrance. buses will drop students off using the existing drive at the north building entrance. An additional 79 parking spaces will be added on the south side of the school. The rest of the parking will be shared with Wheat Ridge Middle School to the north. For pedestrian safety, Pioneer Ridge. Pioneer Ridge. For pedestrian safety, there will be a crosswalk and refuge island at the north portion of the intersection of Kill Creek Road and 164th Street, as well as on the 164th Street just east of the street across the school to the south. So, the landscaping plan shows a mix of trees along the perimeter, with trees shading parking areas and sidewalks. The monument sign along Kill Creek Road will have landscaping around it, and the entry areas have been enhanced with planting beds and shrubs. The building will have an appearance that is similar to Grand Star Elementary School. The applicant is proposing the exterior of the building be faced with brick, gray metal wall panels, and large sections of aluminum framed windows. The ground level mechanical equipment will be enclosed in a walled section and accessed with a gate. So this is a plan development because they are requesting 3 deviations. They are the same as what is in your packets, so I will briefly state what the applicant's requesting, and if there are specific questions on any of them, I can answer them afterward. The first deviation request is to allow for a wider access point of 36.6 feet for the drive, which is typical for a public use. That's coming off the collector. The second request is to have reduced parking space depth and drive aisle width to match the middle school. And the third request is to approve 52 bicycle spaces. Staff finds that with the 3 deviations and the recommending conditions, the plan meets the requirements of the LDC and provides for a high-quality site and building, and it meets the review criteria for a plan development. There are 3 motions for this item tonight, and staff recommends approval of all 3. The rezoning and associated preliminary development plan has 1 condition for stormwater, and for this motion, you make a recommendation to the governing body. For the preliminary and final plats, there are 3 recommended conditions. The first is to ensure the school district has ownership of the portion of the parcel to the south where the road is before the plat is recorded, and the other 2 conditions are pretty standard for plats. You've seen them several times before. You make the decision for both of these applications. Finally, the third motion needed is for the final development plan, and there are 2 conditions. The second is to add the crosswalk and refuge islands so that they are built and shown on the plans, and staff is available for questions.
Thank you, Jesse. Okay with opening the public hearing? Okay. At this time, we'll open the public hearing for this item. Same as before, individuals will have 3 minutes to speak. Individuals representing a group will have 7 minutes. Seeing as no one is approaching the podium, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make the motion. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sosa, second by Commissioner Byrd. All those in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Okay, moving to commissioner discussion, we'll start on my left this time.
What school is this replacing?
I believe Sunflower.
Jody Marshall, Assistant Superintendent for the school district. Also, I live at 14501 Oak Valley Drive, Gardner, 66030. This will, essentially, someone was saying we're taking Sunflower Elementary offline and converting it into a preschool. So this will allow us the capacity to handle the kindergarten through 4th grade students when we take that building offline.
Just curiosity. Everybody that went to Sunflower is now gonna, how's the redistricting?
So the boundary will have a formal, very involved, transparent process. We'll actually hire an outside consultant, and we'll start in early 2026, January, February, and we'll have a boundary study, and it will take approximately a year, and then we'll have a proposal for the board to approve and adopt the following year, probably in January or February of 2027, and it will likely affect all of our elementaries and middle schools to some degree.
Thank you, that's all.
Sorry, I have a question for you too. Sure. I know you were here for the Four Corners subdivision one, and obviously this is gonna be another part of the traffic issue, if that's the right way to say it. I already know that from 7:30 to 8, Kill Creek is practically impassable with buses and cars. And then from 3:15 to 4, if there's no after-school activities going on, it's the same thing. And I know it impacts the entire neighborhood because Kill Creek is the only way in and out of the neighborhood. And I know that you, the school district, don't really have a way to impact that a lot. You don't do the streets, you don't do the traffic, you don't do the lights, you don't do any of that kind of stuff. The one thing that I do think that you do play a factor with is the contract with First Student. And I think that one of the things that could be looked at would be to redesign the traffic flow of the buses. And maybe have the buses go up Waverly, down 159th, and come down from the north into the schools, instead of having all the buses come down 167th and go north. Or split it, you know, the elementary school come from the south, the middle school come from the north, something like that. I don't know, I presume since you guys control that contract, or you let that contract, that's something that you could influence. And I don't know that it would be the panacea. I think that it would be something that should be looked at in order to help with the traffic, because the school buses are gonna be a major part of that traffic, as well as the parents dropping off the kids. And it didn't sound like a question when I asked it, so.
I think we need to hire you as a consultant, absolutely. And I would like to point out that First Student has been a tremendous partner with the school district, local manager, local drivers, and they've always been really cooperative and really open-minded, and been the first at the table to brainstorm ways to get kids to and from safely and efficiently. So I guarantee you they will participate in that conversation. And those are very good ideas. I know we've kicked around a few of those already. Certainly the way the roads are constructed in and out of a building, you know, how folks can turn at certain points of the day has already been brought up. That will be part of the equation. And then furthermore, we want this to be a neighborhood school. Working with developers, we want our kiddos to walk to school. So hopefully that will alleviate some of the traffic as well. And then we could have David come up. We did do a traffic study, and some of that's been referenced here. So there are other options that we, working with the city, need to consider to improve that whole corridor as it's built out.
Okay, that's my biggest concern, is that the amount of traffic that's gonna be increased on Kill Creek with the student load.
Yeah, absolutely. That was our biggest concern even when we started the project. And so all the things we already talked about, and then training our parents to get in and out efficiently. And again, building the drop-off lanes such that it doesn't back up out on Kill Creek.
Okay, that's the only comments, questions I have.
I think Commissioner Burke touched the only concern that I have, so I don't have anything. Yeah, it'd be more all around traffic calming on Kill Creek, whereas with the school zone, where that can change from where it is today, from a speed limit perspective. And then with walkability to the school, what's the plan, like crossing guards, things of that nature. Because I don't believe there's a crossing guard there today.
There's only one at the north end of the middle school.
Yeah.
That's the only one.
And then if this other development slows, you lose that other access road, Kill Creek's gonna become less.
Yes.
So it's like those things have to fall into place at the exact same time. All stars have to align, or else it's potentially gonna be a traffic.
Yes. Just clarification for staff. Assuming the Four Corners Village phase one is approved, they have to build out phase one's street network entirely or not entirely?
Entirely.
Entirely, okay.
Public improvements would have to be complete and accepted prior to building permit issuance.
Okay, so that would be the second way out that you're referring to there, so. I wanna, you touched a little bit on the crosswalk stuff. For the engineer question, I guess, did you consider raised crosswalks at anywhere in either inside the parking lot or at the entrance? You know, cause sometimes those throats can get pretty wide and you wanna make sure people are slowing down and being cautious through those.
Sure. On all the perimeter streets, as we were talking about, Kill Creek and 164th Street, there are the two raised refuge islands or crosswalk for those dedicated locations. And internally, there is one main access point that's at the center of the site that they access from that east entrance into the site for the kids walking. And then on the west entrance is the crosswalk or the walkway that goes around the outside edge. It doesn't show up on this plan, unfortunately, but we have made those changes, and those will be reflected on the permit set.
So the crosswalks here that are coming, you know, directly at the building from the eastern entrance, going up toward the building, that main crosswalk.
Actually, that crosswalk has been moved to be more of a mid-block crossing, so it would be just east of that east-south approach for the future street for that development to the south. There would be a raised refuge island crosswalk there for the majority of that development to be able to use. Heading north to the school site, and then anybody coming in from the west for that development going into the west would access the school before crossing that entrance, the drive, with a walkway or sidewalk that takes them to the main entrance of the building, just outside of the traffic area. So they won't be doing any crossing of traffic for the walkers coming from the west, and then we'd have the dedicated crosswalk, 164th Street with that raised refuge island. And then on Kill Creek, we have the one just north of the intersection of 164th and Kill Creek.
Okay. And then I had a question, you know, it made sense regarding the traffic flow, directing people to the western entrance. What is the purpose of the eastern entrance, and what's gonna be there essentially to prevent people from turning in there first?
Sure, and we've talked about that with the district and how we actually effectively do that, whether it be a gate, whether it be cones, whether it be staff, someone to make sure that the parents don't enter that location. All the cars will be coming in on that west entrance and stacking, because that's the intent to be able to get the cars off of the 164th Street and off of Kill Creek, is to get as many cars on site as possible. And then by doing that, there's going to be some enforcement there during the peak hours for that entrance. But that entrance is there for non-peak hours, so it's easier to get in and out of the site. So you don't just have one entrance and exit. But the idea for the entrance and exit on the west end being that dedicated access point is to help with that stacking for on-site.
Yeah, go ahead.
On the islands, are they gonna have the flashing caution lights?
Right now, we have it in there based off the design or the standard detail. It doesn't have the flashing, but we can make it the flashing. It's something we can just work with the city staff as we finalize the drawings.
At the high school and the other
Yeah, we can make them
places.
flashing. If we do, it'll be the ones that are the solar
Right.
versus power, direct power.
Like the ones
Like
that are
Madison.
now at
Madison Trail.
Yeah, and the other thing I was gonna add to that, just for clarification when it comes to the school zone, there's the existing reduced speed flasher that's just south of the Pioneer Ridge. That's getting moved further south to account for the new elementary school as well. So that's part of the documents we're providing for the public improvement plans. That'll be in there. And then at some point, I imagine the one to the west would be installed at a later time, I guess, because that's beyond our project.
Do you know how far south that flashing light's moving?
I think it's maybe, I can't remember off the top of my head, if it's like maybe a couple hundred feet south of the intersection.
Is that 164th Street intersection?
Yes,
Okay.
sorry, thanks, yep. But whatever that distance was to the turning, or the crosswalk, or the point of the middle school, we did about the same distance, just to be able to have that offset.
I'm sorry if I missed this somewhere, but even looking at the photograph that we are, could you help me visualize the flow of pickup traffic? I mean,
Yeah.
is this the primary entrance, the one on the far left?
Come in.
or
Yes.
here? So the east side, obviously, so got it.
All the way down 164th, come into there.
And that I think I understood, but then you asked a really good question about this entrance, correct?
Yeah, like it's gonna have a swinging gate.
Right.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
And so, in the scheme of things, everybody enters and exits from the same point.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
But there's no crossing.
Yep.
Right.
Unless there's.
I might also point out that that's the way virtually all of our elementaries are set up now, so the community's trained one way in, one way out.
And to add more context to help if it does, but this is going to be very similar to the traffic approach as what's happening at Grand Star and Trail Ridge.
Absolutely.
Exact same buildings.
Frequent both.
There you go.
So thank you for the visual. I appreciate
Anything else?
Any other questions or discussion from commissioners on this? Or staff or the development?
No, the only discussion I have is I know we probably beat the dead horse to death again, but traffic is gonna be an issue. Yeah. And, I hope that we can find some kind of a, maybe novel, maybe some solution, to help, because it's gonna be fun.
I do have actually a question for staff. So obviously with the preliminary parts that we may or may, or that we'll be voting on tonight are what they are, but when it comes to the final plat, let's talk about traffic for a moment. If we see some glaring concerns when we get to that stage, uniquely to traffic, and can, articulate those, at that point, we can make different decisions based on our knowledge at that time. I guess I want to make sure if in looking at this, if there are again some things that we learn and some glaring issues that we're not identifying or even know right now, may we, as the Planning Commission, add future conditions in order to approve or recommend approval,
So
approve a final plat.
The 5 applications before you tonight include the final development plan and final plat. So this will not be before you again. But yes, you can add conditions.
We're also looking at a couple years down the road throughout this.
Oh.
So we don't know what improvements are gonna be made. Right. So we gotta think of that too.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're talking, we might wait to wait a little bit, in the city at some point, where you're gonna say, oh my God, we got such a problem down there. Let's work on that first. So, I mean, we're thinking of a lot of things, but we're not fully sure on that.
I guess we talked earlier about the flashing light. I don't know what the term is it a hawk sign? Is that the term for the push button flashing crossing? Is that what it's called? Or
It's RFB. It's just a indicator that it will the lights will flash on the crosswalk to let somebody know that somebody's going to enter the crosswalk.
Okay, I didn't know. I don't know if there wasn't a condition for that island refuge that were going to be installed. I would recommend we add a condition for that. I didn't know if that's
Yeah, as the recommended condition 2 reads, it does not require that.
right. Can we add that on there? And
Yes.
I just want to get the language correct so that it's like a lighted sign is kind of vague. I didn't know if that is appropriate enough or if we need to be more specific. I guess.
I think we understand what you're referring to in terms of the flashing indicator that's push button activated. So if you want to sort of generically include that in your recommendation, we will understand what you're talking about and can move forward with it.
All right. So we're approving this, right? So our staff recommendation, final vote.
Final decision for the second two,
Okay.
the first motion, you just read.
On the wrong street.
Yeah, that was the last.
That my motion is that the planning commission recommend approval of the rezoning and associated preliminary development rezone 15.59 acres from County RUR, County Rural Residential District to RP1 Planned Single Family Residential District for a new elementary school subject to the following conditions. Condition number 1.
Second. We have a motion by Commissioner Lucci with a second by Commissioner Sosa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 6-0. Okay. Now the preliminary development plan, or I guess it says preliminary and final plat. Is that what this is? Okay.
Okay, so motion is that the planning commission approve the preliminary plat and final plat subject to the following conditions. Conditions 1 through 3.
Second. A clarifying question, staff. We are approving this, or we are recommending this?
You're approving this for the preliminary plat.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Thank you. All right. So motion by Commissioner Lucci, second by Commissioner Sosa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 6-0.
That the planning commission approve the final development plan subject to the following conditions. Number 1 and number 2 to include providing a refuge island on the north portion of the intersection of Kill Creek and 164th, to place a crosswalk and refuge island on 164th Street just east of the future easternmost local street across from the school, and both islands to include a flashing signal.
Second. All right. A motion by Commissioner Lucci and a second by Commissioner Byrd. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion also carries 6-0. Did I not say that? Oh, I'm sorry.
We look the same.
A lot of motions tonight. A lot of names in my head. I apologize for that. All right. Agenda item number 5, Gardner Edgerton School District's Support Center Building. This is a reason. This is also a public hearing item. We have the applicant here. Thank you.
David Ratley, MKEC, with the district. Any questions? Love to answer.
Staff report.
The property consists of 9.71 acres located at the southwest corner of Warren Street and Poplar. The property is currently undeveloped, and the eastern third has a stream corridor flowing through it to the south and is heavily wooded. The property is currently zoned R3 Garden Apartment District. The area to the north is zoned C2 General Business. To the east, it is zoned R1 and M2 General Industrial. To the south, the zoning is once again R1 with West Side Park, and to the west is R5 Apartment District for Meadowbrook. The City of Gardner Comprehensive Plan originally designated the future land use of the subject property as Parks and Recreation, but it was updated with the Main Street Corridor Plan in 2018 to high-density residential. The site will be accessed from West Warren Street, where a drive will lead to a parking lot for the school service employees and to a gated parking lot farther south for school vehicles and to access the building's bay doors. Since there are no sidewalks along West Warren Street to the east and west of this site, no sidewalk will be built as part of this development along Warren or Poplar. The cost to construct the sidewalk will instead be paid into an escrow account for future construction. The landscape plan shows trees along the perimeter of the building and parking areas. The entry areas on the north and the outdoor patio spaces on the west have been enhanced with planting beds, trees, and shrubs. The tree preservation area to the east will provide dense screening to the dock doors, and the south will be buffered by landscaping as well. Detention will be provided underground underneath the parking lot to the south, or in the south. The applicant is proposing the exterior of the building to be faced mostly with gray insulated metal paneling, with ribbed insulated metal wall paneling at the corners and bottom of the building. The east elevation will have 5 bay doors for loading and unloading school-related materials, and the south elevation has 2 more bay doors. On the north elevation, 2 prefabricated canopies project from the building over the primary and side entrances. The canopies and the sections between the windows will be painted blue to provide contrast. And to make up for the architectural deviation request, staff recommends further enhancing the canopies by adding a combination of either a more substantial roof structure on the top, columns with brick or something on the base, or a low wall projecting from the building, just to provide a more substantial entry feature. For this item, there are 4 deviation requests. As with the school, they are the same as what's in your packets, and several of them are the same as you just heard on the school. The first deviation request is to allow for a 7-foot tall chain link fence around the truck parking area. The second is for the building to have no building plane or roof line offsets. This is the request that leads us to ask for an enhanced front canopy. The third is to have a reduced parking space depth and drive aisle width to match the new school. And the fourth is to allow for a longer parking block of 232 feet. This is the north parking lot block. Typically, there would be a median in the middle, but they wanted larger medians on the ends, and staff recommends approval of all 4 deviation requests. Staff finds that with the recommended conditions of approval and the requested deviations, the plan meets the review criteria for a plan development and the plats, and the site provides proper landscape buffers from adjacent properties by preserving the trees in the stream corridor. Just like with the school, there are 3 motions for this item, and staff recommends approval of all of them. The rezoning and associated preliminary development plan has a recommended condition for the sidewalk escrow payment and stormwater, and once again, you make a recommendation to the governing body for the first motion. For the preliminary and final plats, once again, that's misspelled, final plat. There are 2 conditions, both of which are standard for plats, and the third motion needed is for the final development plan, and there are 2 conditions, with the second being to enhance the front entry feature. And once again, we're available for questions.
At this time, we'll open the public hearing. If anyone would like to speak on this item, you're allotted 3 minutes. For an individual, for a group, you're allowed 7 minutes. Please state your name and address for the public record.
Hello, my name is Cece Noriega. I live at 218 Meadowbrook Circle. I'm here tonight to discuss the rezoning of the Warren and Poplar for the USD 231 Heavy Equipment Support Service building area. My concern starts with the natural ecosystem of the land that has the natural stream and wildlife that lives in this area. There are, on any given day, coyotes, foxes, raccoons, possums, owls, hawks, and many varieties of birds that are natural to the state of Kansas. How is the school district going to preserve this area and the wildlife? Due to the high volume of birds, will the district have special window coverings so the birds don't fly into the windows? If this area is approved for building, what are the plans for construction with sound during construction? I work from home, and the noise could disrupt my work. Also, with the patients of Meadowbrook Hospital, how is the construction work going to impact them and their health? How will the contractors handle the pollution of the construction, like the dust, equipment, and trash from the building materials? Other areas of concern are fencing. Will there be sufficient fences to keep wildlife and people out of the secured area, and what type of fencing? Since this is a newly constructed area, what are the plans for the storm runoff during rains? The traffic Currently, heavy trucks such as semis are not permitted on these side streets such as Poplar. Will there be upgrades to be able to handle the large and heavy equipment vehicles? We have grave concerns of the future drive connection that cuts through that wildlife ecosystem onto Poplar Street, which at any given time, a funeral procession could be happening. Lighting. Will there be outdoor lights? How will that impact the neighbors and the wildlife? And will they be garbage containers, and will they be wildlife proof? We did reach out to the Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks. However, with the shutdown, no one was available. We also called and spoke briefly with Matt from Johnson County Park Wildlife Department. In conclusion, I can see that we have, or excuse me, in conclusion, you can see that we have concerns for the protection of the wildlife and the ecosystem for this area, as well as the peace of mind for the residents of the area and the long-term hospital patients. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Karen Demaro. I live at 342 West Warren Street, corner of Warren and Poplar. And I have a lot of the same concerns that she brought up. And not only, like, I'm concerned about, like, noise pollution, light pollution from the parking lot lights, and not just the noise pollution during construction, but even after that. I mean, how big are these trucks gonna be? You know, how much traffic is there gonna be? I mean, I work from home on some days as well, and I'm concerned about the noise. I mean, it's just so nice and quiet over there. Would love it to stay that way. And just those streets, there's no shoulder. I've seen 18-wheelers make a mistake and try to come down Poplar, and they had to back out of there because they can't make those corners. And so, I mean, I don't know if these are just box trucks or, you know, 18-wheelers. I can't imagine 18-wheelers coming in and out of there all the time. But so I'd like more information on that, and yeah, just the noise and the additional traffic mainly. And you know, I'm really happy that they're not gonna tear those woods out. So that does help. But anyway, that's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this item? See. Yeah, you're fine.
Karen tomorrow again. Property values. How will this affect our property values? I mean, it was residential when I bought the house, and changing from that to heavy commercial is, you know, just like to know. It's not just commercial, but it's heavy commercial, and I don't know a whole lot about what that entails. So it's just concerning. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing as no one else is approaching the podium, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make the motion. Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Souza, second by Commissioner Landsberg. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, Commissioner discussion. We'll start on my right this time.
I have some of the same concerns that were expressed by the public. I do appreciate that the land is ignoring or not developing the ecosystem that's there, but it is also really close to have interresidential neighbor and the zoning next to me changed from residential to heavy commercial, I'd be pretty upset. That is something, I know when I looked at purchasing property, what's around, gonna be around me potentially. So I'd ask, is there another has this school district considered any other locations that would potentially not require a material zoning change for this plot of land? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the question would be that, what went into selecting this site?
The answer to the question is yes, we did. We cast the net pretty wide, and we worked with local realtors to examine really all the properties that were available. Again, we needed a specific size, and certainly location was paramount as well, so we could access all of our facilities. And this one checked all the boxes, and as far as we knew, it had been sitting vacant for quite a while. We looked at some outside of town, on the west side of town, and certainly some further south. But I think if we learned anything from our current service center out by Nike, it's that it really would be nice to have something centrally located. And again, this property checks that box. So the short answer is we looked throughout the district boundaries for the appropriate size and location, and this one was the best option.
Could you comment on the types of sizes of trucks that would be accessing the facility?
Yeah, it should be very seldom that we have a tractor trailer or a semi come through to deliver maybe paper or some other supplies. Like if we bought new computers for all the kids, those might come in on a tractor trailer. That would be very rare. And most of you, if you live in the community, you see our vehicles driving around town. They're mostly F-250s or Dodge Rams. You know, they're pickup trucks that are built out with capsules on the back or for spreading salt and things like that. And then obviously we have some landscaping equipment, utility tractors and trailers and things like that. But we don't really have anything. We have box trucks, but we don't really have anything larger than that. Do we, Mark, in the fleet? So I think pretty similar to what the city of Gardner has would be a good comparison.
Can you speak to the hours of operation for this facility?
Yeah, I will tell you that our operations staff come in a little bit earlier, so it would not be uncommon for them to be there at 6:30 or 7. But they're really just checking out vehicles and going out to other sites. I don't imagine they're going to be doing a lot of activity on the property other than getting what they need and moving on. So I don't imagine there'll be a lot of activity or noise there. And then they're usually done by 4 or 5 typical business hours. Now, of course, if we have a weather event, you can imagine they're going to be in early and they're going to be staying late. So that's to be expected.
Also go into the operations of the service center. I believe there's some training space in there, or what else, other uses?
Yeah, good question. So this particular facility will house our operations, our food service, our technology team, and I think that's it, right?
That's it.
Yeah. So, and we will have a training space. I think it will be like a big conference room. It will hold 60 or 70. And we desperately need more training space. So that will be used by other folks in the district. They will come on site. It might be a special ed team or a building coming over or another group of employees. At food service, we'll have a prep kitchen in there. Again, they will serve all their buildings out of there. Obviously, operations will as well. And our technology department, if you know now, is in the basement of our district office, which certainly is not enough space for them. So they've got things squirreled all over the district. So they will be centrally located out of this facility as well.
So as far as noise, you don't anticipate this to be, to neighborhood surroundings, you don't think it's going to affect?
I don't, and I think the vegetation there to the east will certainly help with the residents that live further east. Again, this is just going to be folks coming in and getting their equipment and moving on, so I don't think there's going to be, we just don't see a ton of activity there other than, again, people coming in and training, and they're just going to park and go in the building. So not a great deal.
And to verify, would the current facility, the staff there, they would relocate to the new facility when it's done?
Yeah, the operation folks would, and then we'll probably start a conversation with First Student about using that facility.
And so I'm guessing this is a question to you or maybe staff. What was the purpose behind the C3 or the CP3 zoning request versus what the current facility is as M1?
So the current zoning is.
I'm sorry,
R5.
when I say the current, I'm talking about the actual facility
Okay.
that they're utilizing now, not the land that they're asking.
The commercial zoning was required based on the building type and just the use. I'd have to take a closer look. I don't think C2, I can't remember. I think it had to be either C3 or industrial. And they went with the C3, the heavy commercial.
So the building size?
Yes, the building size, I think also in conjunction with just the use of the property
Okay.
as a supporter.
I'll add to that with respect to some of the development regulations, if you will, in terms of maximum lot coverage and things like that. The C3 is actually less intensive than the M1 in terms of lot coverage, for example. So we were trying to find something that allowed for their use but didn't open up the door too widely, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the setbacks are greater, or interestingly, in some areas when you're adjacent to residential, specifically.
And currently, so I'm trying to determine if this is going to create a similar challenge as we discussed during the last meeting, relating to the ability for Gardner Police Department to enforce traffic laws that and maybe we can clarify this, I believe one of the residents mentioned it, but on Poplar, there are no large trucks allowed. That's a question, sorry, not a statement, and maybe you.
There is a plumbing facility already on Poplar. So when they get drop-offs, the semi is allowed to go down there. That's one of them.
Exactly.
So that's already there. We're not creating it on Orange Street.
And so, in our meetings last month, a rezone would have impacted an ordinance that was in place regarding traffic. I'm curious if we have a similar challenge here.
We already have existing facilities that get semi.
Gotcha.
Because even Meadowbrook, I get the two confused. Has a semi that delivers food and other things.
Okay.
So, and that's, going down.
Poplar?
Comes out Poplar by the church. Or Warren by the church. Doesn't go down Poplar. One for the plumbing does.
Correct.
But for the hospitals, it goes down. Also, it's,
And it, based on the plans, the only access point is off Warren Street.
Right.
So
Okay.
one could make an assumption
Yeah, yeah.
the traffic would tend to go on Warren versus Poplar.
There's just to clarify the access, there is a potential future access point shown to the south, but it won't be built with this, and it may never be built.
but that's an access that we can't see in them. They have to walk downhill to get their high power lines or something. But they never did.
I think another distinction between the application that you were referring to is, obviously, they're both planned developments. We know very specifically how this will be probably would, I don't know the percentage of what you want to call it, warehouse storage versus the office space, but it's on a much smaller scale than what you were seeing. That was multiple buildings of a larger size. So we were more comfortable with the type of traffic based on how it's being used and the limited amount of deliveries that are provided via a tractor trailer, for example.
And I think, in general, we could probably all feel comfortable about that. Putting all of that aside, I also feel as if something like this came in front of us, asking for, CP3 rezoning in the middle of a residential area, blindly, we might all immediately say no. And that I have an issue with, personally. And I hate that I do. This is necessary, and clearly there are residents that have concerns, but just on the basis of the CP3 zoning ask, in that area and location, I'll come back to the point you made earlier.
I would point out, if you look at, the zoning, the blue M2 at the southeast, that's the most intense zoning-wise, what uses would be allowed. And then this would be that CP3. And then to the north is C2. So from our perspective, it's like, okay, well, the idea is to have a transition, and this is a planned development, so that also went into our consideration.
So again, just for clarity, maybe this is actually important. The obviously I know it's a C3, but the C zoning versus the M are, you're saying, less restrictive? Whereas
the M zoning, which is the industrial, is the most intense.
Most intense, exactly. Okay. All right. We're still in discussion just at the moment. But we certainly can continue.
I do have a question about the rain runoff, because there's going to be a salt bin. Is there any need to contain that, or is that built into that containment, the salt bin?
So we are providing underground detention for storage for the runoff.
Okay.
So it's all the storm runoff from the building and from the parking lot will drain to this underground facility, and then we have a peak release for pre and post for what the city requires, and the salt bin would be above that, so no water will be draining through that salt bin, and it's going to have a door on it, so it's going to be closed, enclosed. So there's no any runoff concerns with the salt bin.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. And we're also doing water quality with that underground facility as well. So it'll be water quality for the first flush, and then for the major events for the stormwater detention stuff.
Okay.
Buses are staying where they're at, correct? At the current service center? They're not moving to the new service center, correct? It's just gonna be the maintenance.
Correct.